And now, it's time for learning more about our lives as students, our body as humans, and our future as happy, healthy people. The APU and AUV Podcast Network presents the Student Health and Happiness Podcast with your host, Russell Freeman.
Welcome, everyone, to our Student Health and Happiness broadcast. I'm Russell Freeman. I'm a health science professor at American University in Vietnam. And today, we're talking about the topic of lifestyle balance. And this is episode 2. We're talking with Michael Hayes, who's our school counselor here. And in our last episode, we basically covered about what is work-life balance and how does it affect our thinking and the way we organize our lives. So in this episode, we want to talk more about how to get the best quality of life that you can. We want to look more closely at the anatomy of a healthy lifestyle and the steps that one can take to create their dream way of life. Michael, how are you today?
I'm great. It's good to be back.
Thanks so much for coming. In our last episode, I asked you a question about passion as it affects people's lifestyle choices and also the way they budget their time and their effort in their lives. Some people who are very passionate about what they do spend all their lives doing it, and it's at the expense of other things that are important things to have a balanced lifestyle. And similarly, people who have no passion at all, sometimes they don't do anything in the right balance because they're just not excited about any of it. So how does someone both find their passion, include it in their lifestyle, and still maintain balance in their lifestyle, either with or without the passion?
Well, passion is a real gift once you discover what it is that motivates you, gets you out of bed, gets you excited, gets you moving, gets you connecting with other people. So once you sort of discover those things that really push you towards your vision for the kind of life you want to lead, it's important, to keep fostering that drive, those things that really make you excited and make you connect with others. But the deficits, there are going to be things that get in your way occasionally, and I would encourage students particularly to focus on those things that bring them happiness and joy on a daily basis.
A lot of students are shy about trying new experiences for different reasons, the fear of failure, or they don't want to look silly, or
Right.
or for whatever reason, they're not competitive. And how does someone overcome that self-inflicted obstacle?
Well, for students, it's a very much a developmental process because they're just developing those sort of things that get them excited. So if they fail at something, they may have they may internalize it a great deal. Learning to let go of failure and just move on is really a practiced skill. Once you get to university life, you'll have more opportunity to fail, and that's when you really need to take a risk. And also, as you get even older and get out of university and get into your work life, taking a risk, especially in today's world with the change of paces, things that happen so quickly. Who knew anything about Bitcoin 10 years ago? Who knew much about the internet 25 years ago? Who knew anything about YouTube and being a content creator 25 years ago?
Right.
So, things are changing so fast that if you're not a risk taker, you're going to lose out on finding that passion that you might have.
So things change in the world, but people change too as they get older. So these lifestyle questions about balance, do they change as we age? Do the same questions apply to a student as they do to someone who's getting ready to retire?
The questions are similar, but they're going to have a different focus. If you're retiring, you may be more focused on, do I have enough finances to live a kind of lifestyle I'm accustomed to? Whereas if you're just starting a career or you're finishing your high school career and looking at choosing a university, the questions are similar, but they're different. As a student, you're looking at, 2 or 3 year horizon where you're fully understanding that there are going to be many changes. Whereas if you've kind of at the end of your career and you're looking towards retirement, you're thinking about how you want to live, you're looking at different specific questions. So there's similarities, but there's differences. And again, it's making human connections along the way to help you sort through some of these questions that are really important.
Do you think that these changes of lifestyle or balance requirements are a process of aging and maturing, or are they a process of thinking? Are they think driven, if I can use that expression, or are they something imposed upon us by life's surprises?
Well, there's a certain amount of thinking that's involved, but you don't want to get caught up in just thinking. Action is what gets you from point A to point B. And taking action is often a sign of being healthy and happy. People that are stuck in their thinking can often end up being depressed or unhappy with their situation, and they're not willing to risk and take a leap forward. People need to actually move in order to engage all of their human anatomy, like you said early on in this podcast. They've got to actually do something. You can't just think your way to better living.
It's interesting to be an old guy these days, because I remember so clearly the way things were, at least in America in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Most people had one career, one job. They became a lawyer and they retired as a lawyer, that kind of thing. It's true in my family for sure. In my case, I broke that mold. I was probably in that transitional cultural time between the 70s and the 80s, where a lot of the old rules didn't work anymore. And I found myself in looking back that my lifestyle changed depending on my thinking. And as I started to explore this topic more, I came up with some examples of types of thinking that I've had or I've seen in other people that directly affected their lifestyle. And I'd like to list those off, and there's 11 of them, so be patient with me. But I want to see if any of them key in with you, and I'll do them quickly. Fear and risk avoidance, adventure seeking, the cast your fate to the winds. I call it providential itinerant. In other words, you go where the winds carry you. Comfort and security seeking, fame and glory, materialistic or financial status. In other words, win the game. Passion expressive. You have to sing. You have to paint. You have to be an artist. It's just inside you. Pleasure seeking, cause driven. I want to end war. I want to end hunger. Devotional, religious, and directed or imposed. You're in prison, you're in the army, or you have no choice. You're a caregiver for your elderly parents and you don't have other choices. So are there other kinds of thinking or any of these particular thought patterns that drive most people?
Well, it's quite a list, and it covers quite a range of things there. I think you've done a really great job of sort of listing things that motivate people or help them get moving in the direction they want to go. I think it comes down to the individual, and when I look at students every day, and I think about the choices and options that they have, they're very different nowadays than, say, their parents, and especially different than their grandparents, particularly here in Vietnam. The students now have phones, they've got internet, they've got access to more information. So having a list of 11 different things often overwhelms young people, because then it's tough to make a choice because they haven't had enough experience yet. So it's a challenging time for students and for a lot of people in general, but for a young person, having choice and all the things that media and the internet brings can be confusing. And it's, again, I go back to having human connections to process all of this so that you can make a good choice for yourself.
When I look at this list of 11, 7 of those came from my stages in life.
Right.
So I didn't have to think about those. I just thought about myself. Why did I do that? Why did I take that job? Why didn't I take that job?
Right.
That kind of thing. And so my decision making has evolved, and my definition of the equation of work-life balance has also changed, because at certain times I needed to do more of some things than others. Michael, my next question is about stages in life and how you can anticipate the best choice now for what's going to be happening later. So how can someone at a young age create a work balance lifestyle that can evolve and eventually allow them to retire into something? Now, to me, this is a really interesting question, and I want you to answer it, but I want you to do that in the next episode.
Sure.
So please think about it, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you then.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.